Fluent Flow Podcast. New videos every day. Let's learn English together.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We tailor every exploration just for you, our listener, aiming to get you informed quickly, deeply, but without ever feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And today, we're diving into something, well, I think is really special. We're looking for those practical, potent insights for, nurturing mental well-being through really simple daily habits.
And the source material we're digging into today is quite unique. It actually comes from a podcast script that was originally made for English beginners.
Right.
So it's got this incredibly slow and clear speaking style, really calm rhythm. But here's the thing that's not just about teaching language.
That's what grabbed me too. It feels like there's something more going on with the style itself.
Precisely.
That slowness, the clarity, the calm. It's not just how it communicates, is it? It seems like it's almost modeling the very mental state it's trying to promote. What's your take?
That's a really sharp observation. And, that's where this deep dive gets fascinating. It's definitely not just about pedagogy for language learners. It's like a living demonstration of the pace, the tone needed for mental well-being.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you're trying to learn something new, like a language, and someone just throws fast, complex stuff at you, what happens?
You get overwhelmed, anxious maybe, shut down.
Exactly. And it's similar with our own minds, isn't it? If our internal dialogue or even just the information we take in is all rushed and chaotic, it just breeds mental unrest.
Okay.
So the very act of listening to something like our source material becomes, a practical lesson in calming the mind. It's modeling the solution while delivering the message.
So you're saying the speed of input, how we talk to ourselves, how we listen, if we do that more slowly, more calmly, it can actually directly lead to more inner peace, like the medium is part of the therapy.
I think that's a great way to put it, yes.
So our deep dive today is really about exploring this deliberate, unhurried approach. Let's call it slowly conversation. Whether it's internal, just with ourselves, or external, with the world around us, how this can be a really powerful tool for genuine well-being. Let's unpack that.
Let's do it. Because, mental health, it can feel like such a huge abstract thing sometimes, maybe a bit intimidating, or something you only think about when there's a crisis.
Right, it can feel heavy.
But our source material just cuts right through that. It offers this beautifully simple, totally universal definition. Mental health is just how we feel inside.
How we feel inside.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It asks, are we happy? Are we calm? Do we feel okay? It's not some complex psychological framework. It's just a direct invitation to check in with yourself.
I really appreciate how straightforward that is.
Yeah.
It just cuts through all the jargon, gets right to the core of, your personal experience. And what feels really crucial is that it also acknowledges right up front that sometimes we feel stress, sometimes we feel tired, and it says, that is normal. Why is that normalization piece so important when you're trying to take care of your mental well-being?
Oh, it's huge. It's profoundly significant because it immediately sets this compassionate, realistic tone for self-care. We live in a world that often pushes for constant positivity, constant high performance.
They're always on.
Exactly. So just acknowledging that, stress and tiredness are normal parts of being human, that lifts this huge pressure to always be fine. It frees us up.
Takes away the guilt, maybe?
Absolutely. It shifts the focus. It's not about avoiding negative feelings, but about building the capacity to, navigate them, manage them when they inevitably show up. This simple definition makes mental health less scary, more relatable for everyone. It turns the mission of self-care from this big, vague thing into something tangible, something less shame-inducing.
Yeah.
It's like the first step in that slowly conversation with yourself, where you just look at your inner landscape without judgment.
And then it builds on that with this brilliant analogy, making it even more concrete. It says, just like we take care of our body, we can take care of our mind. That immediately pulls mental health out of this, mysterious or purely clinical realm and puts it right into familiar territory, something we mostly understand from taking care of our physical health.
That analogy, I agree, it's genius because it instantly makes mental care feel tangible, actionable. We get it, right? Physical health needs consistent daily effort, brushing your teeth, trying to eat well, maybe some exercise.
Daily habits.
Exactly, daily habits.
Yeah.
So by comparing mental health care to physical health care, it suggests the same kind of approach. Consistent, routine, it changes the perception, doesn't it? Mental well-being isn't just something you deal with in a crisis. It's something you proactively nurture every single day with small, steady habits.
Right.
This simple comparison just demystifies the whole thing, makes it way less overwhelming, much more approachable. It's like an implicit invitation to this continuous, unhurried practice of self-care.
And the tangible benefits it talks about are really compelling too. It goes beyond just, a vague feeling better. When you take care of your mental health, the source says you'll feel better, sure, but also you can think clearly, you can speak better, and you'll feel more energy. It's not just about the internal state, it links directly to better functioning.
And that highlights this really critical, holistic impact. An improved internal state translates directly into better external capabilities, more vitality. It's not just subjective well-being, it's about optimizing your cognitive function, your focus, your problem-solving, decision-making.
Clearer thinking.
And it enhances communication skills, allowing for more coherent, maybe more empathetic interactions. And it directly hits your overall energy levels. Mental fatigue, as we know, can be incredibly draining physically.
Oh, definitely.
So this isn't just about feeling good, it's about functioning better in your daily life, being more present, more effective. It shows how that internal, slowly conversation, that inner calm, translates into external efficacy.
So if a calm, strong, peaceful mind can boost clarity, communication, energy, what else might that ripple out into? Does it touch our relationships, our decisions under pressure, maybe even creativity? It seems like this calm foundation could help you thrive pretty much everywhere.
Oh, the ripple effects are absolutely substantial, and they're all interconnected. Think about it. When you start your day from a place of calm, your prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain doing the heavy lifting for rational decisions, emotional control, impulse management. It's less likely to get, hijacked by stress hormones.
Reactive.
Exactly. Less reactive, more thoughtful. You're more likely to make considered choices, not just emotionally driven ones. And your interactions with others, they tend to become more patient, more empathetic, because you're not operating from this baseline of hurried anxiety.
Makes sense.
Plus, a mind that isn't cluttered with constant internal noise just has more bandwidth, right? More space for creative thought, for deeper problem solving. It builds this inner resilience. You can absorb new things more easily, maybe innovate better. It really creates fertile ground for flourishing across the board. Really underlines the power of that intentional slowness.
And speaking of that calm, strong mind, it brings us right back to that core principle, the heart of this deep dive, really. This idea of slowly conversation. The Source podcast explicitly states, we will talk slowly. We will use simple English, and it keeps that calm rhythm.
And what's so compelling, as we touched on, is that this isn't just a teaching trick for language. It's a profound demonstration of the pace and the tone needed for mental well-being, and it directly affects our nervous system.
How so physiologically?
Well, think about the modern world constant bombardment, right? Fast information, fragmented news, notifications demanding attention. This rapid-fire intake can keep our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight response, stuck in the on position, perpetually alert.
Okay, I see. So taking in information, or even just talking to yourself, slowly and calmly, it actively shifts your physiological state. It calms that system down.
Precisely. The Source's own style becomes this immediate, practical example of the very habits it recommends. Just by listening to a calm, slow, clear voice, you, the listener, are already engaging in a practice the Source advocates for mental well-being.
It's modeling the solution as it delivers the message. Almost like gentle auditory meditation just by listening.
That's a great way to think about it, yes.
Yeah.
Shows that the delivery of information can be just as therapeutic as the content. It's about reducing that cognitive load, inviting the mind to relax into a receptive state instead of being constantly on high alert.
Right.
And this really sets the stage perfectly for the practical tips that come next, which are all about intentionally bringing that slowness and calm into different parts of daily life.
Okay, let's dive into those practical tips then. Starting with what sounds like an incredible blueprint for a peaceful start. Tip 1, start your day slow. Jenny, the host in the original Source, she details this very specific morning ritual. She says, every morning, I wake up early, I don't use my phone, I sit by the window, I drink warm tea, I breathe slowly, I look outside, I say thank you in my mind. Wow, that's incredibly specific.
It is, isn't it? And each step there seems to have this really deep psychological intention behind it. Take the first two, wake up early, and don't use my phone.
Yeah, the phone thing is huge.
It is. And this isn't just about, managing your time better. It's about establishing agency. It's about preventing that immediate overwhelm from outside demands. Think about what happens when you grab your phone first thing.
Emails, news alerts, social media. Instant flood.
Instant flood. Exactly. It can trigger stress responses, cortisol surges right away. By just delaying that, even for a little while, you're proactively creating your morning. You're setting your internal compass for the day instead of just reactively consuming whatever the world throws at you before your feet even hit the floor.
Like putting up a little shield first thing.
It's a deliberate act of self-preservation, yeah. A boundary against that relentless digital demand.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Taking control of the first input. And then all those sensory actions. Sit by the window, drink warm tea, breathe slowly, look outside. How do those contribute to calm, especially compared to the usual morning rush?
Well, those actions are all about grounding yourself deeply in the present moment. They engage your senses, but gently without overstimulation. Drinking warm tea gives you that soothing physical sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Looking out the window, it's a gentle visual focus, not the hyperstimulation of a screen. And breathe slowly, that's a direct line to regulating your nervous system.
That's parasympathetic system,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Slow, deep breathing activates the vagus nerve, which tells your body, okay, you can rest and digest now. This deliberate slowing down of input, it's like a quiet rebellion against all the noise and mental speed up. It's a nonverbal, slowly conversation with yourself and your immediate surroundings. Cultivating stillness before the day really kicks off.
And that final step she mentioned, say thank you in my mind. Such a simple internal moment of appreciation. She calls the whole thing my quiet moment, my slow morning. And the results are clear. It helps my mind feel calm, no stress, no hurry.
And that's the critical distinction, isn't it? This goes beyond just having a routine. It's not about being more productive or getting a jump on your to-do list. It's fundamentally about pacing your mind, recalibrating your internal state.
Right.
Contrast that with the usual habit, grabbing the phone, diving into emails, rushing around. That immediately puts the brain on high alert into stress mode, reactivity. This deliberate slowness actively counteracts that. It lets the brain gently transition from sleep to wakefulness without that sudden jolt of information overload.
It's like building a buffer.
It is. Building a buffer of calm before the day can even throw its first curveball. That's a really powerful physiological preemption.
So this slow morning isn't just about feeling nice, it's foundational. A nonverbal, slowly conversation, setting the tone before you even really engage with the world. And the invitation to us, the listeners, is so simple. When you wake, don't look at your phone. Sit, breathe, smile.
And those suggested affirmations she adds, I like slow mornings. I feel calm today. They seem simple, but they're remarkably powerful.
Why is that?
Because they aren't just empty phrases, they're explicit internal verbalizations. They actively solidify the mental state you're choosing. By saying those words, even just in your head, you're doing a kind of cognitive restructuring. You're reinforcing the neural pathways for calm and peace.
You're telling your brain what state you want to be in.
You're literally instructing your mind and body towards that desired state, starting that positive internal, slowly conversation that can then echo through your day.
So if those first few moments really set the pace, what are the ripple effects later on? Does this deliberate slowness lead to more thoughtful decisions, calmer interactions, less stress overall throughout the whole day? It feels like it could create a cascade of calm.
I think cascade of calm is a great way to describe it. The potential ripple effects are huge, touching everything from cognition to emotional resilience. When you start the day with your parasympathetic system more engaged, your prefrontal cortex again, rational thought, emotional regulation, it just functions better, which means more considered choices, less impulsivity, a better ability to handle unexpected bumps in the road. You're less likely to just react out of overwhelm, more likely to respond with composure.
And how does it affect others?
Well, that internal calm tends to ripple outwards into your interactions. More patience, maybe more empathy, clearer communication. It's like you've built up this emotional and cognitive reservoir you can draw on all day. It provides this sustained reduction in overall stress by just building that buffer against the day's challenges. It really shows how a micro habit can have these macro level impacts on your well-being.
Okay, let's transition from that quiet start to another practice of internal engagement. Tip 2, write in a journal. What strikes me right away is how minimalist this is. Write 3 things. Just 3 things. And the prompts are super specific. How I feel, what I want, and what I'm thankful for.
Isn't that brilliant in its simplicity? It directly tackles the common reasons people don't journal.
Like feeling intimidated.
Yeah.
Or not knowing what to write.
Exactly. The idea of journaling can feel daunting, like you need to pour out pages of profound thoughts or complex stories. This approach, structured, minimal. It reduces the perceived effort to almost zero, just 3 specific things. It makes it incredibly accessible, far less intimidating, especially if you're new to it. Yeah.
It turns journaling from this big literary task into just a gentle daily check-in, a perfect example of a slowly conversation with yourself on paper, a gentle, structured way to touch base with your inner world without any pressure.
And she calls the journal your friend. That metaphor, plus the encouragement to use even simple words like I feel good or I'm thankful for my home, really seems to highlight how just the act of writing, even basic writing, helps get things out.
That externalization, getting thoughts and feelings onto paper, it's incredibly powerful. When things are just swirling in your head, they can feel huge, shapeless, all-consuming.
Overwhelming.
But once you write them down, they become separate from you. It creates what psychologists sometimes call psychological distance. It lets you see them more clearly, process them without immediate judgment. It's like taking the jumble in your mind and laying it out neatly, making it less potent, easier to look at.
You don't need fancy words. No. It shows that deep emotional processing doesn't need complex prose. It just needs honest articulation, even if it's basic. The simplicity of the language is key to that slowly conversation idea in its most accessible form. You're not trying to impress anyone, not even yourself. You're just trying to understand.
And the consistency seems vital too. Write every morning, write every night. Not just once in a while, but a daily rhythm.
That consistency is exactly where the real power comes in, the cumulative effect. Daily self-reflection, even just those few lines, starts to reveal patterns over time.
You notice things.
You notice recurring feelings, consistent desires, what reliably brings you gratitude. It fosters this continuous, gentle dialogue with your inner world. It leads to deeper metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. Over time, this daily practice builds significantly greater self-awareness and emotional regulation. You just become more attuned to your inner landscape.
Which leads to a stronger, calmer state.
Rooted in that deeper, unhurried understanding of yourself. It's the compounding effect of gentle self-inquiry.
Okay, so from that internal reflection, let's shift to external engagement with tip 3. Move your body. The source puts it so simply, but it feels profound. Your body and mind are friends. When you move your body, your mind feels good too.
It's such a simple framing, but it captures this fundamental holistic truth that science absolutely backs up. Mental well-being is deeply, deeply intertwined with physical activity, even gentle activity.
It's not about intense workouts necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's not about hitting a certain fitness goal or burning X calories. It's about recognizing that synergy between your physical self and your mental state. They aren't separate things. They are in constant back and forth communication.
And they get conversation.
Exactly. This connection is a powerful, nonverbal, slowly conversation between body and mind. Movement becomes this form of reciprocal support and regulation.
And the examples given are wonderfully accessible, really varied. I like to go for a walk. I walk in the park. I listen to music. Sometimes I stretch. I breathe deeply. And it explicitly says any movement is good. Even things like dance, walk, stretch, or clean.
That broad, inclusive definition of movement is so important for mental well-being. It frees activity from the pressure of, intense, high-impact workouts. It shows that movement for mental health isn't about pushing limits or peak condition. It's about breaking stagnation, gently introducing energy.
Which fits that slow and calm idea.
Perfectly. Consistent, gentle physical activity like a mindful walk, a simple stretch, is often far more beneficial for sustained mental calm than, say, sporadic high-intensity bursts, especially if the main goal is emotional balance. It's about meeting your body where it is, not forcing it, inviting movement as unhurried self-care.
And it gets even clearer when it talks about using movement as an immediate emotional tool.
Yeah.
If I feel sad, I take a short walk. If I feel tired, I move slowly. That's very direct, responsive.
Yes, it speaks to that immediate, responsive nature of movement as a coping mechanism, a direct way to shift your emotional and physiological state. When you've got that negative emotional energy building up, physical action provides an outlet, helps redirect it.
And if you're tired?
If you're fatigued, Even gentle movement can incrementally re-energize a tired mind without overstimulating it. The simplicity of the advice makes it just instantly actionable for anyone, regardless of energy levels or physical ability. It's like listening to your body's own slowly conversation and giving it what it needs to regulate itself.
So, okay, beyond just feeling better, what's actually happening inside us physiologically when we use gentle movement like this to shift our mood? Are we talking endorphins, brainwaves? What should we understand is going on?
That's a great question. Really gets to the why behind it. And yes, endorphins are definitely part of the picture, those natural mood boosters, the reason even a gentle walk can make you feel better. But it's actually much more nuanced than just that.
Okay.
Gentle, rhythmic movement, especially if you can do it outdoors, actively helps regulate your whole nervous system. It helps shift you out of that sympathetic fight or flight state, which, let's face it, many of us are stuck in way too often.
Thanks to modern life.
Right. And it helps shift you towards the parasympathetic rest and digest state. Activating the vagus nerve through movement is crucial for sustained calm and reducing chronic stress.
That shift is key. What else is happening upstairs in the brain?
Well, we also see an increase in other vital neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, which are all players in mood regulation, motivation, focus. Plus, consistent gentle movement actually increases blood flow to the brain.
Delivering more oxygen and nutrients.
Exactly, which quite literally helps clear mental fog and boost cognitive function. And then there's BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it like fertilizer for your brain.
Yeah.
Movement stimulates BDNF production, which supports the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing ones. It contributes to neuroplasticity and, yes, improved mood. And you mentioned brain waves. The repetitive nature of something like walking can induce a kind of mild meditative state.
Yeah.
It can quiet down the prefrontal cortex, the part that does all the overthinking and rumination.
And the worry center.
Kind of, yeah. It lets your mind naturally de-stress and reset. It pulls you out of your head and into your body, shifting focus away from internal stressors. Creates this really profound, unhurried connection.
Fascinating. Okay, from moving the body, let's explore tip 4. Talk to someone. The core message here feels incredibly important. When I feel sad, I talk to someone, a friend, a family member. I say how I feel. I don't keep my feelings inside.
This really gets to the heart of verbalizing emotions, and it's such a critical part of healthy, slowly conversation with others. Why is it so bad to keep feelings inside? Well, when emotions get bottled up, they can fester, gain power, lead to rumination, anxiety, that deep sense of isolation.
They just spin around in your head.
Exactly. But speaking them aloud, even just to one trusted person, can immediately diffuse their intensity. It makes them less overwhelming, gives them shape, lets them be examined instead of just felt. There's even a term for it, affect labeling.
Putting words to feelings.
Yes. And studies show that actually reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center. It's a way of co-regulating your nervous system with another person.
And the benefits listed are tangible. Talking helps me feel lighter. Talking helps me think clearly. It's like an external processing tool.
Absolutely. The act of sharing, it doesn't just offer a potentially different perspective from the listener. Often, the very process of having to articulate your thoughts and feelings forces you to organize them.
Just saying it out loud helps you figure it out.
It really can. Yeah. That externalization often leads to clarity you just wouldn't get keeping it all internal. It's a therapeutic release, like emptying this heavy bag your mind's been carrying. It feels lighter, more capable of clear thought. It turns that internal noise, those abstract anxieties, into something concrete, discussable, which is foundational for solving problems, for emotional resolution. That unhurried dialogue is a pathway to unburdening.
But then the source adds this fascinating layer, emphasizing that this slowly conversation doesn't always need another person. And sometimes I talk to myself. I say, it's okay. You are strong. You are doing your best. The power of internal dialogue.
This is such a crucial addition because our internal dialogue, that's the conversation we're having pretty much constant.
All day long.
Right. So it highlights the importance of actively cultivating positive self-talk, using affirmations to counteract those negative thought patterns. And those specific examples, it's okay, you are strong, you are doing your best. They're simple, direct, but incredibly empowering.
How do they work?
They build resilience by actively challenging self-doubt, fostering a more compassionate inner voice. And this isn't just, wishful thinking. It's a form of cognitive restructuring. You're actively replacing critical or anxious thoughts with supportive, realistic ones. You're essentially becoming your own most consistent, kind support system.
So practicing these affirmations, you can actually change your internal narrative. Develop a more compassionate relationship with yourself, like being your own best friend, guiding yourself patiently. That fits perfectly with the slowly conversation idea, deliberate, positive internal communication.
It absolutely does. It's like self-parenting in a way. Providing that reassuring, empowering voice internally that you might also seek externally, this builds that inner resilience, that core of self-compassion that's just crucial for sustained well-being, especially when things get tough. It builds an inner sanctuary of calm and strength.
Okay, finally we get to tip 5.
Yeah.
Listen to calm English. And here's that meta moment tying it all together. Jenny says, yes, this podcast is also a way I care for my mind. I love to listen to calm voices. I love to hear slow English.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Such a clever self-referential point. It brings our whole slowly conversation theme full circle. The actual experience of listening to the source material becomes a direct example of one of the tips.
Right.
It reinforces that slowly conversation isn't just about how you speak or reflect, but it's also this profoundly calming way of consuming information. It's about choosing your inputs deliberately, not just what you say, but what you let into your mind.
And it clarifies the impact. It helps me feel safe and relaxed. So it's not just about understanding the words, it's the direct effect this kind of auditory input has on our nervous system.
Yeah, it really emphasizes how the tone, the pace, the clarity of what we choose to listen to can profoundly influence our nervous system, our emotional state. Think about the world we live in: constant, often jarring sounds, fast news, loud music, complex, hurried talk.
Sensory overload.
Totally. So consciously choosing calm, clear inputs, that can significantly reduce cognitive load, foster a deep sense of tranquility. It's about curating your auditory environment for well-being, actively seeking sounds and voices that soothe rather than overstimulate. It's an active choice to reduce that sensory input, letting your brain shift into a more relaxed state, potentially even promoting those alpha brainwaves associated with calm alertness.
And then it expands on this with advice specifically for language learning. Every day, listen to English. Even if you don't understand everything, just listen. Your mind will grow. Your English will grow. This sounds like growth through gentle, consistent exposure.
Exactly. It introduces this idea of passive, low-pressure learning, absorption. It's not about intense study or forcing yourself to understand every word. It's about consistent, gentle exposure, letting the mind soak it up organically.
And how does that slow and calm approach help learning?
Well, it de-emphasizes the pressure to get it right immediately. That reduces the anxiety that often blocks learning. It lets the mind absorb information naturally without the stress response kicking in. It recognizes that growth can happen gently, without force, just by being in a state of relaxed receptivity. It lowers that cognitive friction, makes learning feel more sustainable, maybe even enjoyable.
So, thinking beyond just language.
Yeah.
If we applied this principle elsewhere, choosing calmer news sources, maybe peaceful music, deliberately seeking out unhurried conversations. How might that contribute to overall mental calm and maybe even growth in this crazy information-saturated world?
Oh, the implications are huge. In an age of endless feeds, notifications, clickbait, choosing calm English, or its equivalent in other parts of your life, is almost a radical act of self-care.
Yeah, it feels countercultural.
It really does. It's about reducing that constant barrage of high-intensity, fragmented data that leaves us feeling mentally scattered, emotionally drained. By intentionally slowing down our intake, we give our minds space to process, to connect ideas, to integrate information more deeply.
So it's not just about calm, but deeper understanding.
Yes, it fosters genuine intellectual growth, clearer insights, a more grounded understanding of things, rather than just surface-level knowledge bites. It's an intentional practice of nurturing your mind through what you allow yourself to hear and process, really embodying that essence of slowly conversation in your whole information diet.
Wow. Okay, so to quickly recap this really insightful deep dive, we've looked at 5 core tips from the source, all resonating with this theme of intentional slowness and calm. Start your day slow, write in a journal, move your body, talk to someone, and listen to calm English.
And what's so empowering, I think, is that emphasis on small steps. Remember, the source says do 1, do 2, or do all 5. Every small step helps.
Right. No pressure to do it all at once.
Exactly. It reinforces that this deep dive and the original source, it's all about practical, accessible habits, no grand gestures needed, no overwhelming changes. It fits perfectly with that calm and slow approach to well-being that's actually sustainable. It's about gentle, consistent integration, honoring the process of gradual growth.
And as we wrap up, we definitely want to affirm you, our listener. The source itself says, I am proud of you. You are learning, you are trying, you are growing. And that resonates so much with, valuing learning without feeling overwhelmed. Your commitment to understanding these ideas, even the simple sounding ones, is really something worth celebrating.
Absolutely. It's about celebrating that journey, the consistent, unhurried effort.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over, something to take away. Our source material, originally for beginners, it models this really important truth that goes way beyond language learning. Maybe the deepest insights into mental well-being and maybe even into learning itself don't come from trying to consume more, faster, louder. Maybe they come from embracing slowly conversation with ourselves, with others, and with the very information we take in. So the question is, how might intentionally slowing down the pace of your internal dialogue and your external interactions not just calm your mind, but maybe unlock deeper understanding, build greater resilience, and lead to more meaningful connections in, every part of your life?
It's a powerful question.
Definitely something worth exploring, one slow conversation at a time.